All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into some really fascinating history.
Yeah.
You know how when you're planning a wedding, you think about those little details, like a special piece of jewelry
Right.
or a family tradition?
Right.
Well, imagine planning those details decades in advance.
Oh, wow.
But for your funeral,
Oh,
that's precisely what Queen Victoria did.
wow.
And it's just a glimpse into the fascinating story we're about to unpack today.
Okay.
We're talking about Queen Victoria,
Yeah.
the woman who ruled England for over 63 years, defined an era, and left behind a legacy that continues to intrigue us even today.
It's really incredible how a single life can be so intertwined with a whole historical period.
It really is.
And you've brought some great sources
Yes.
that really explore not just Victoria's life,
Yeah.
but how she so meticulously crafted her image, both in life and in death,
Yes.
starting with that iconic white wedding.
Yes. That wedding was a spectacle,
It was.
a real turning point in wedding traditions as we know them today.
Yeah.
It seems like everything about it, from the dress to the flowers, was very carefully chosen to send a message.
Absolutely. And the white dress is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Well, white dresses weren't completely unheard of before Victoria.
Right.
Her choice to wear one made a huge impact.
Yeah.
Remember, this is 1840.
Mm-hmm.
News traveled much slower. But images of her in that stunning gown made with lace from Honiton,
Uh-huh.
a town in Devon,
Yeah.
spread throughout society.
Supporting local businesses even back then.
Yeah.
That seems like a very modern concept.
It is, and it highlights how Victoria used her choices to make subtle but really powerful statements.
Yeah.
That decision wasn't just about fashion.
Yeah.
It was about promoting British industry and connecting with her people.
So she was a trendsetter,
Definitely.
like a fashion influencer of her time.
Absolutely.
But the orange blossoms she wore,
Yeah.
those weren't just a pretty accessory, were they?
No, not at all. Those
Okay.
blossoms represented fertility and
Okay.
purity, ideals that were incredibly important during the Victorian era.
Yeah.
It's almost as if she was saying, look at me, I embody the perfect Victorian woman.
Right.
A queen, a wife,
Yeah.
and soon to be a mother.
She was creating this picture-perfect image of domestic bliss.
Right.
And what better way to solidify that than by embracing another tradition that was gaining popularity at the time, the Christmas tree.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Victoria and Albert, her beloved husband,
Yeah.
adopted this German custom.
Uh-huh.
And images of their family gathered around a beautifully decorated tree
Right.
were widely circulated.
Right.
It further cemented their image as this ideal couple,
Alright.
surrounded by the warmth and joy of family.
Right.
An image that resonated really deeply with the public.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple choices,
Yeah.
a white dress, some flowers, a decorated tree,
Right.
can become such powerful symbols,
Those you do.
shaping public perception
Yeah.
and leaving a lasting mark on history.
It really speaks to the power of symbolism, especially in a time when visual media was limited.
Yeah.
Those images became really iconic representations, not just of personal happiness, but also of national ideals,
Right.
really embodying the essence of what it meant to be Victorian.
But as we know, this era was also marked by a fascination with mourning.
Right.
And sadly, Victoria's own life took a dramatic turn when Prince Albert died in 1861.
This is where we see that really stark shift from white to black.
Yes.
Victoria's grief was profound and very public,
Yeah.
leading her to wear black for the rest of her life.
Wow.
Now, mourning attire was common during the Victorian era,
Yeah.
but her extended period of mourning went far beyond social expectations for widows at the time.
From the vibrant white of her wedding to decades draped in black.
Yeah,
What a contrast.
it is.
It must have sent shockwaves through society.
It did, and it speaks volumes about the Victorian era's complex relationship with death. And mourning dress wasn't simply about expressing sadness.
Right.
It was a strict social code.
Oh.
It dictated everything from the type of fabric and the style of clothing to how long it should be worn.
Wow.
And let's not forget the hair mementos.
Oh, right.
Keeping locks of hair from deceased loved ones
Right.
woven into jewelry or kept in lockets was another common practice.
It does seem a bit morbid to us now.
Yeah.
But I suppose in Victorian times, with death being so much more present in daily life, these rituals were seen as a way to cope with loss.
Exactly. Death was a constant companion in those days.
Right.
Infant mortality was high, and diseases we can now easily treat were often fatal.
Right.
These rituals provided a structured way to process grief and navigate the pain of loss.
But Victoria's prolonged mourning, while undoubtedly genuine, also seems to have served a political purpose, didn't it?
Yes, and this is where things get quite interesting.
Okay.
While her grief was undeniably real, it also generated a great deal of sympathy from her subjects, reinforcing her image as a devoted wife and a grieving mother. Figures that resonated deeply with the Victorian public.
So her advisors weren't blind to the potential of this public image.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
They recognized the power of this image, and according to some of the sources that you provided, actively encouraged her to maintain it.
Okay.
It softened her image as a powerful monarch and presented her as a relatable, even vulnerable human being.
Right.
And this leads us to the final chapter.
Okay.
Victoria's funeral.
Which, like, her wedding was meticulously planned and full of symbolism.
It was.
But after decades of black,
yeah.
What a surprise to find that she chose white for her funeral.
Yeah.
White gown, white drapes on her coffin, even white horses drawing the carriage.
Right.
Why the return to white?
Well, it wasn't a random decision.
Okay.
Years earlier, she'd visited a mausoleum with the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Okay.
And remarked on the bright light streaming through the windows. Tennyson, a man who deeply influenced Victorian views on death and immortality, said he wished funerals could be in white.
Really?
And when he died, he was buried in a white pall.
So Victoria, who admired Tennyson, might have been inspired by his vision.
Yes.
Was she embracing the idea of death as a transition?
Possibly.
A journey into light?
Could be.
It's fascinating to consider her motivations.
It is.
But either way, what a powerful statement.
It was.
She broke with tradition.
Yeah.
Choosing to end her life, not in the somber black of mourning, but in the hopeful, almost romantic white of her wedding day.
Yeah.
A beautiful full circle in a way.
And just like her wedding, her funeral set precedents for future royal funerals.
Totally.
The use of a gun carriage to carry her coffin was a first, for example.
Okay.
And became a standard feature in state funerals.
And then there's that little detail.
Yeah.
A secret tucked away in her hand for the journey.
Right.
A photograph of John Brown and a lock of his hair.
This detail, hidden from public view by a bouquet of flowers. Wow.
Adds another layer of intrigue to her story.
It does.
John Brown was a close confidant and personal attendant. And while the exact nature of their relationship is debated by historians, it was clearly deeply significant to her.
It's a reminder that even the most public figures have private lives.
Yes.
And sometimes those lives hold secrets that only come to light after death.
Absolutely.
And it challenges the image she so carefully cultivated throughout her reign.
It does.
It makes you wonder how much control do public figures, even those as powerful as Queen Victoria, truly have over their legacies?
It's a great question.
And this is where it gets really interesting. And we'll delve deeper into that question and the impact of Victoria's choices in part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good. It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
The idea that someone can be so influential, so in control of their public image, yet still have these hidden aspects of their lives that really challenge the narrative. Absolutely. It's like these carefully placed cracks in a perfectly constructed facade.
Yeah.
Those little glimpses behind the curtain. That reveal the true complexities of a person.
Yeah.
And in Victoria's case, it really makes you question the impact of those choices that she made. Especially those tied to her extended mourning period.
Right.
It wasn't all just symbolism and image crafting, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
While her grief was undoubtedly genuine, her withdrawal from public life had real consequences, both for the monarchy and for the nation as a whole.
The sources you've shared really do paint a pretty clear picture of a nation grappling with a queen who was largely absent from public life.
Yeah.
What kind of impact did that have on the monarchy itself?
Well, her extended period of mourning led to a decline in royal authority and influence.
Okay.
Her absence from public events, her reluctance to really engage in political affairs created a void that others were ready to fill.
It's like the country was saying, we understand your grief, but we still need a leader, a queen who is present and engaged. Did that lead to a rise in those who questioned the monarchy altogether?
It did. Republican sentiment grew during this period.
Wow.
With some questioning the relevance of the monarchy in a modernizing society.
Okay.
And within the government itself, politicians gained more power as Victoria took a step back.
So in a way, her personal grief had these unintended political consequences.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even the most personal choices can have ripple effects that extend far beyond the individual.
Precisely. And it highlights the delicate balance between personal life and public duty.
Yeah.
A balance that's particularly challenging for a monarch.
Right.
Victoria, in many ways, was navigating completely uncharted territory.
Yeah.
There was no guidebook for how a queen should grieve.
Right.
How to reconcile her personal feelings with her responsibilities to the nation.
And let's not forget the impact on her family.
Oh, yeah.
9 children growing up in a household shrouded in mourning.
Right?
That couldn't have been easy.
No, it certainly wasn't.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The royal household was governed by strict mourning protocols.
Okay.
Dictating everything from behavior to dress. Even laughter was considered disrespectful.
Wow.
Imagine growing up in an environment where joy and lightheartedness were suppressed for years.
What a heavy atmosphere to live in.
It was.
And we know from historical accounts that some of her children rebelled against these restrictions, seeking a sense of normalcy outside the confines of the court.
Right. It's a testament to the resilience of children, isn't it?
It is.
Their ability to find those moments of joy, even in the midst of sadness and loss.
Right.
But it also underscores the impact that a parent's grief, even when deeply felt and understandable, can have on a family.
It's like Albert's death cast a long shadow over everything.
It did.
Victoria's life, her family, even the nation itself, felt the weight of that loss for years to come.
Yes.
It's a sobering thought how one moment in time can have such far-reaching and long-lasting consequences.
It is a sobering thought.
Yeah.
And it reinforces the importance of understanding the complexities of history.
Right.
How personal lives and public events are often intertwined, influencing and shaping one another. Nothing happens in isolation.
Right.
Every choice, every action has the potential to set off a chain of events that ripple through time.
And that brings us back to Victoria's deliberate use of symbolism.
Right.
She clearly understood the power of images, of rituals, to shape public perception.
Yeah.
She wielded that power both in her wedding and in her funeral, didn't she?
She did. She was a very shrewd strategist when it came to crafting her public image.
It seems like it.
And her choices, even those seemingly driven by personal preference, served a much larger purpose.
Yeah.
She was acutely aware of the role she played as a monarch.
Right.
As a symbol of national identity.
It's like she was always aware of an audience.
Yeah.
Even though cameras and social media weren't a part of her world, she understood the importance of playing her part in the grand drama of monarchy, the power of performance.
Exactly. She knew how to evoke emotion, how to connect with her subjects on a visceral level. And she used those skills to bolster the monarchy, to solidify her position as this beloved, if somewhat tragic figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, we've focused on how she shaped her own image.
Yeah.
But what about the role of others in constructing her legacy? The media of the time, those who wrote about her painted her portrait, captured her image in those early photographs.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
History is never truly objective. It's always filtered through the lens of those who document it, those who create the narratives, those who control the images.
So when we look back at figures like Queen Victoria, we're seeing a carefully constructed version of them. A narrative that may not always capture the full complexities of the person.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's what makes historical exploration so compelling.
It is.
It's about peeling back the layers.
Yeah.
Seeking out the inconsistencies, those glimpses behind the carefully constructed facade.
Right.
It's about recognizing that there's always more to the story than what initially meets the eye.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
It is.
We're going beyond the textbook version of Queen Victoria. Beyond those iconic images. We're seeing the woman behind the symbols, the human being grappling with love loss, and the immense pressure of public life.
And in doing so, we're gaining a much deeper understanding, not just of Victoria herself, but of the Victorian era, its complexities, its contradictions, and its enduring impact on our own world.
So as we move towards the final part of our deep dive, let's consider this. We've seen how Victoria, in both life and death, used symbols to shape her narrative. But how do we as individuals use symbols to express ourselves, to tell our own stories.
Yeah.
What objects, what rituals hold meaning for us and why? It's fascinating to think about, the objects and the rituals that we surround ourselves with.
Right.
We may not be monarchs crafting some grand public image.
Right.
But we all have stories to tell, don't we?
We do.
And those stories are often reflected in the things we choose to keep, the traditions we hold dear.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Symbols are powerful.
Yeah.
Whether we're consciously aware of them or not, they hold meaning.
Yeah.
They evoke memories. They connect us to the past, our loved ones, to our sense of self.
And when we look back at Victoria's story, we see that those personal touches, those seemingly small details, are often the ones that resonate most strongly.
I agree.
The white dress, the orange blossoms, the lock of hair tucked away in her hand.
Yeah.
These are the things that humanize her.
They do.
That make her story so relatable across the centuries.
It's those cracks in the perfect facade, those glimpses into her private world that make her story so enduring.
Yeah.
We see the queen, the symbol of an era.
Right.
But we also see the woman, the wife, the mother, grappling with the same emotions and challenges that we all face.
It's a reminder that history is about more than just dates and events.
It is.
It's about people.
Yeah.
Real people.
Real people.
With complex lives and relationships.
Absolutely.
With hopes and dreams, with triumphs and tragedies.
And it's a reminder that those personal stories, those individual journeys, are often what shape the course of history, even if they unfold behind the scenes, away from the public eye.
Victoria's story is a testament to that. Her personal choices, her grief, her relationships, all played a role in shaping her reign and influencing the world around her.
And her story continues to resonate with us today because it speaks to these universal themes.
Yeah.
Love, loss, duty, ambition, the desire to leave a mark on the world.
Yeah.
These are things that we can all connect with.
Right.
Regardless of our own time and place.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the life and legacy of Queen Victoria, I'm left with this thought.
All right.
We've seen how she used symbols to craft her image to tell her story.
Right.
But what about us?
Yeah.
What symbols would we choose to represent our lives?
It's a good question.
What stories would we want them to tell?
It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
What objects hold meaning for you?
Yeah.
What traditions do you cherish?
Right.
What stories do you want to pass on to future generations?
Those are the stories that truly matter.
They are.
The ones that connect us to each other. That remind us of our shared humanity. And that shape the tapestry of history, one thread at a time.
I think that's a great place to end it.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.